Hi, I'm Summer Tothill and I'm a feminist influencer, educator and writer. And every week on my Instagram, I run a Q&A with my followers. They ask me their questions about how gender equality and oppression is affecting them in their world, and I answer. What you're about to watch or listen to is a compilation of 1 week's worth of those questions and answers. And if you join me on Instagram every week, you can take part in the Q&A, ask your own questions, get your answers, get involved. Why do I find it so icky when male footy players refer to their adult male team members as, quote, the boys? I think you are rightly perceiving a threat in men acknowledging their force as a collective and their strength in numbers and what that tends to mean about their behavior. For example, in a sports context, you know that there's going to be some pretty vile locker room talk. We know that patriarchy works by helping men to bond with each other via their oppression of women and objectifying women. That is how they create cachet with one another, how they improve their own reputation and standing among other men is by stepping on women to get a foothold. So you're probably perceiving that and feeling icky about that. And then the other factor in the boys is that they are not acknowledging that they are men. And men love to say, you know, a man who sexually assaults a woman is not a real man. Well, how can any man be a real man if they're all just the boys? They're just boys. Boys will be boys. Men told me, watch out for all men. So why do men anger when women repeat that? Yeah, somehow it's not all men until a man actually does something bad to a woman, and then men are like, you should have known that a man was going to behave that way. This is just one of the more effective gaslighting tactics of the patriarchy. Patriarchy benefits from simultaneously characterizing men and male behavior as dangerous to women in order to scare us and lower our expectations of their behavior, while at the same time convincing us and itself that no individual man is bad or could possibly commit that bad behavior. Because then when a man does do something bad to a woman, we don't believe her because no individual man really behaves that way. And yet somehow we grow up getting told to protect ourselves from the men who behave that way, which apparently is all of them. You can counteract this by believing women. And remember, it is all men, because even the ones who don't commit acts of misogyny benefit from the fact that we expect these acts to be committed by other men. I'm an avid reader, but I dislike most books written by men. I feel bad. How can I stop being biased? You do not have to apologize for being biased against male authors, and as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to do anything to change this. Most books published worldwide are by male authors, and most readers are women. So we already have a great deal of imbalance in who is speaking versus who is listening. If you stop reading books by men, that will do nothing to damage men's readership and their overall success in the publishing industry worldwide. As far as I'm concerned, you're doing a good thing if you are biased towards supporting and reading authors who are women, who are gender diverse people, who are disabled, who are people of color, anything but that white cishet male standard of authorship worldwide. We certainly don't need more white men's perspectives, so keep reading those women authors, keep reading outside of that scope, and do not feel bad about this bias. How can more traditionally masculine men be less misogynistic and just better without being less masculine? This question is more complex than I can do justice to in a rapid fire, but I'll do what I can right now. Okay, so there really is no cleaving to masculinity without being misogynistic. The entire concepts of masculinity and femininity are socially constructed under a patriarchy, and patriarchy requires the idea of man good, woman bad in order to exist. So it is difficult, nay, impossible to cleave to a sense of one's own masculinity without that being necessarily founded on the oppression of women and the comparison to the relative weakness and inferiority of women. People like to talk about wholesome masculinity, but what they really mean is wholesome behavior by men, which is behavior that we don't expect. how to deal with negging. Reject negging outright. Don't give any time of day to someone who tries to neg you. Someone who tries to neg you doesn't see you as human. They have tried to objectify you. They've tried to take you down a peg. They are behaving with malice and hatred, even if it's trying to look like flirting. Negging is an early, obvious, very effective red flag. As soon as you see it, you just withdraw yourself from the person who tries to do that, and also withdraw your respect for them if you had any in the first place. Negging isn't fun or sexy, it's demeaning and dehumanizing, and if you want to be degraded in the bedroom, you can do that within the bounds of a consensual, negotiated BDSM relationship. That can be super fun. Negging is not that. And you should only do that with a person who actually respects you, which a person who has tried to neg you has proved that they do not. In terms of what you can actually say in the moment, you could say, I don't respond to men who talk to me like that, or you could just ignore them and walk away, or you could say, nice attempt at negging, loser, and then again, walk away. Did you ever experience internalized misogyny? If yes, how did you deal with it? I'm sorry to tell you, I have not broken free from internalized misogyny. I would love to be able to say that I have, but I don't think that I, or probably any woman, is going to ever be able to 100% get free from it. What I will say is thinking well of other women is one way to break free from that internalized misogyny, and to really make a conscious effort to give women the benefit of the doubt really, really helps. And also just being really conscious on your feminist journey and thinking as much as you can about how the patriarchy as a system and a structure causes us to think of women in specific ways. I also want to say every time I do a Q&A, I get questions about internalized misogyny, so it almost feels like I could justify writing a whole book about it. The only thing is I don't really know how to solve it, so I'd love anybody else's tips about that as well. Thanks in advance. That's it for this week's Q&A. Thank you for tuning in. If you got this far, I know you are a real one. Thank you if you're one of the people whose questions I answered. They were once again such fascinating, interesting talking points. So thanks for submitting them. If you got some value out of this week's Q&A, or if indeed any of the content on my account has helped to improve your life in some way, you can always say thank you by dropping a little donation at this link. As I say every single week, women should be compensated for their labor. We can address the pay gap in small ways by helping women, I guess, and I'm always here to help you. I hope you have a fantastic day and week, and my next Tuesday Q&A will be from back in Australia, so I guess I will see you then. Until then, love you, bye bye.